Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. This video is what is Crowfall. My name is Dilbo Dabgins. That's Dilbo with a B. I stream every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern over on my Twitch channel, and we play a hell of a lot of Crowfall. With the Crowfall release coming July 6th, I've seen a lot of people in my stream and across the internet asking questions like, what is this game? What is Crowfall? Why should I play it? Hopefully by the end of this video, you should know exactly why you should play Crowfall. I love the game. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people when it does come out. And I'm looking forward to seeing it grow and me growing with it. Just so everybody knows, you know, I am sort of biased when I'm making these videos. So take that into account when you're watching this. I have ties with Crowfall. My stream, my channel, everything I do would be nothing without Crowfall. So I want the game to succeed. Now, does that mean I won't be an objective with my thoughts in my reviews? Not at all. I'm a very honest person. I'm going to tell you how it is, but you know, keep in mind that I do come from a place of positivity. I come from a place of this game is going to be great, not a place of negativity. This game is going to be trash. Okay, so just fair warning, you know, I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction here or have you think I'm trying to hide something. Before we jump into this video, make sure you like, subscribe, all that crap. Make sure you go over to the Twitch channel, follow Twitter, Instagram, Discord. All those links are down below. I also run a new player guild. So if you're interested in playing Crowfall and you want to get into a guild, I help you learn the game there. And also I got a 10% discount code for you guys down below. You click that link and you get 10% off everything in the store for ever. So, you know, mounts, crowns, you know, all the game packs, everything, you'll get 10% off. So all right, so let's talk a little bit about where Crowfall came from, because we can't really talk about what it is until we know how it started, right? So Crowfall is a spiritual successor to the game Shadowbane. I personally never played Shadowbane, but from what my research has told me and what people I know have told me is that it was a very heavy PvP focused guild versus guild type of game. From the kind of like the beginning WoW days, not even I think before WoW. I'll have the actual date of when it was, you know, actually popular on the screen here. But the developer Art and Craft Entertainment, who is creating Crowfall, the head of that company, J. Todd Coleman, he worked on Shadowbane, and so a lot of this game's aura comes from Shadowbane, you know, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think, you know, there is room in the market for a game like Crowfall to try to take some of the cool things that Shadowbane did so long ago and bring them into the modern era. And that's exactly what Crowfall is trying to do. It's trying to take that hardcore PvP MMO and bring it into the modern era for modern gamers. So Crowfall started as a Kickstarter back in 2015. They raised a crap ton of money, hitting very many goals, blew it out of the water. And ever since then, the game has been in open development, meaning that as long as you backed the game, you had access to the game and you could play it from day one. The game has gone through many changes since the original Kickstarter. A lot of people think that, you know, the game has kind of changed what it was from the original Kickstarter goals of what the game was supposed to be. But if you go back and you watch all that Kickstarter footage, what you'll really see is that it was a bunch of systems, a bunch of ideas that could possibly make a good game. And then what has happened over the past 6 years is that they've tried things, it hasn't worked, or they tried other things and they have worked. And over the past 6 years, we have gotten to where we are today, which is Crowfall. The entire game of Crowfall is finally coming out after 6 years of active development. So I know Kickstarter games have a lot of negative stigma around them, right? Like they're never going to come out. They're just cash grabs, they're scams, things like that. Well, this is the first one in, I don't know, since I've been following Kickstarter, you know, MMOs. This is the first one that's actually coming out. This is the first one that's actually trying to make it real. While yes, not every single thing on that entire list of Kickstarter rewards is in the game. For instance, VR, which I don't know why that was ever a fucking reward to begin with, but that's not in the game, right? It seems like that are missing from the game, but that doesn't take anything away from the game. One of the beautiful things about Crowfall, and because of the Kickstarter and because of the 6 years of open development, is that it's had a very good relationship with its community, for better or for worse. There's people that have turned their back on Crowfall and say it's the worst thing ever. There's people that have really enjoyed every part of the way. But what Artcraft has done is they have listened to the community from day one to help try to make the game the best they could possibly make it with community interaction. I've never seen a game in development that has worked so hard at pleasing the players as much as Artcraft has. Now, they're not going to please everybody, and there are people that are going to get upset about XYZ, that they didn't put XYZ in the game, but they really have tried their best at making the game that the community wanted. So now the game is releasing on July 6th. If you buy the game right now, you can play it right now, but I highly suggest just waiting until release, to be honest with you, so you get that fresh game feel with everybody logging in at the same time, having a good time. Is release going to be, you know, incredible? Or are the servers going to stand up like, you know, no other MMO is able to do? Probably not, to be honest with you. Probably not. I hope it does. I hope that it surprises people and all the servers are stable and everybody's able to get in, no problem. But let's be honest, it's an MMO release, right? So hopefully there's not too many issues on release and people are going to be able to get into the game and have fun. So what is Crowfall? Why should you play it on July 6th? Why should you back this game? Why should you spend your hard-earned money, buy this game and play it? So you got to ask yourself what type of gamer you are. What type of player of MMOs are you? Do you like to come home from work, say you've had a long day at work, you get a nice meal in, hang out with the kids and the wife or the husband or, you know, whatever, and, you know, you just want to play some casual, turn off your brain, play some casual MMO style stuff, maybe run a raid with your buddies, something like that. That's not what this game is. This game is trying to capture that hardcore MMO, hardcore gamer niche, right? This game doesn't pull its punches, right? It is made for the hardcore player. All of Crowfall is around PvP. You're not going to find dungeons. You're not going to find raids. You're not going to find anything as far as competitive PvE content in this game, or even really casual PvE content in this game. The only casual part of this game is the first maximum 8 hours. That is the beginning of the game, called the new player experience. By the way, I'll have a whole guide coming up about that later, but that part of the game is the only part that is really similar to the rest of MMOs on the market right now. That part of the game is you log in, you have quests, you follow the quest line, you get to max level. The entire new player experience is just there to transition you from what theme park MMOs are into what Crowfall is. That's the entire point of it. The game, once you hit level 30, which is the soft cap max level of the game, that's where the game actually begins. And that's where you get to start experiencing what Crowfall actually is, which is the hardcore PvP MMO. So I'm going to break down some of the overall systems, game modes, types, you know, progressions, content loop. I'm going to break down some of that stuff here. I also am going to have a lot of other YouTube videos explaining some of these things more in depth. So make sure you guys are subscribed. You go check out my other content if you want to know more about some of these specific things. But the Crowfall content loop or progression loop is this. Once you hit level 30 and you're done with the new player experience, the game actually starts. The end game of this game has no end. It is a very long process. I guess you could say once you hit level 35, which is the final max level, you are quote unquote done. But the game isn't about hitting max level. The game isn't about getting the best gear. The game isn't about any of that. The game is about fighting other players and proving to them that you're better than them. That's what it's about. It's about being better at PvP than your enemies. The entire progression, the entire game loop, all builds up to what is called Dregs. Dregs is a campaign, guild versus guild world server. Campaigns have a start and end date, so they can last for a month long, they can last for 2 months, a year, 5 days, doesn't matter. They have a start and end. Your characters aren't bound to any server inside of Crowfall. You can take a character into any server and experience the game in the rule set of that server. So for instance, campaigns, Dregs, that is the guild versus guild hardcore end of the game. That is where all of the hardcore players will end up. What you're doing in Dregs is you're competing with your guild to win the campaign via capturing outposts, forts, keeps, and castles, participating in sieges, farming, harvesting really rare mats that you can only get inside of Dregs to be able to craft your guild better gear. While all this is going on, you're PvPing in an open world where you have full inventory drop. Everything in your inventory will drop when you die. Now, there's some things that kind of change that. For instance, if you're a harvester and you die, say, with 100 logs on you from chopping trees, you only lose 50% of that to try to minimize how hurt harvesters get from being ganked in the open world. But anyways, the entire game is all about that hardcore running at each other in an open field, massive 50v50, 100v100 battles, fighting over castles, launching trebuchets and catapults to knock down walls, using the mechanics of all these different sieges to be able to beat your enemy or to protect yourself from your enemy. There's multiple different ways to win campaigns and earn things from competing in campaigns, and we're gonna have a whole video explaining how to do so coming up. But that's kind of like, I'm just trying to give you the essence of what Crowfall is. The entire point of the way Crowfall is built is to have these worlds or servers with their own rule sets. And that's kind of the beauty of what Crowfall can be. You can have a campaign, or that Dregs what we were talking about, the guild versus guild, but you could have one of those that's faction v faction. So now there's 3 factions all going at it the same way guilds were. But if I'm not in a guild and I just want to experience some faction v faction stuff, you can do it in there as well. You can have a campaign that's full gear drop, not just inventory drop, but everything that I have equipped. You can have a full campaign where you can't bring in any gear from your account. You bring in your character completely naked and you start fresh in that campaign, and you and your guild have to build up your stronghold and your base of operations to become a very powerful guild inside of this closed off world. The entire point of these servers in game modes is to replicate a strategy style game that has an ending. It's to give hardcore players a way to win. If this wasn't in the game, I feel like Crowfall's game loop would be extremely boring, because there'd be really no point at just running into each other and fighting over and over and over again. So the overall progression of Crowfall is you level up from 1 to 30. You go into what is called infected, or kind of low sec. That's what I call low security zone. And this area is a, faction v faction PvP on type of area, medium tier harvestables, medium tier loot, medium tier gold that you can get from mob camps. There's still forts, keeps, and castles, but it's not an ending winnable state of the game. So you'll go into there, you'll farm up, you'll get your bases, start understanding how to play the game. The game teaches you all of this, by the way, and I'm going to have an entire video explaining all this in way more depth. But then you'll get to a point where, okay, I want to experience the more hardcore part of this game, and then that's when you find a guild and you go into Dregs. Crowfall isn't a game that you play by yourself. It's not a game that you can jump into and just not interact with anybody. Crowfall is an old school MMO in the way that you have to interact with other people in the world to be able to play the game. For me personally, I feel like a lot of modern MMOs are single player games where other people just happen to exist in the world, and you'll come across people, you'll do a dungeon with somebody and you'll never know who they are ever again after that. That's not how Crowfall is. You're going to run into the same people. You're going to fight the same people. You're going to be in guilds with people. You have to interact with people to be successful in Crowfall. The way that the harvesting and crafting progression works is that harvesters feed the crafters, crafters feed the PvPers, and PvPers protect the harvesters. So it's a perfect loop closed system of an economy. And you can have entire accounts or entire players that all they do is harvest and craft, or just craft. We have entire guilds called econ guilds that all they do is supply gear to other guilds via gold, by selling them in player made markets that are inside the game. There's so much opportunity to make Crowfall what you want it to be. And that's the beauty of what Crowfall is it's not a point A, point B, this is the MMO. These are all of the check boxes you have to check when playing it. You can start Crowfall and say, I want to become the best weapon maker in the entire game. I want to set up my EK, which we haven't even talked about that yet, but that's basically your player housing. You can make that a public space that people can come to and buy things from you. So I want to make my EK the #1 weapon EK in all of the game. When you want a weapon, you come to me and you buy your weapon. And what that really does is it creates a sense of community that isn't found in other MMOs. You're going to find something when you start playing Crowfall. You're going to find that the game is so tight knit that you find a community in Crowfall that you just don't find in other MMOs. Even it being a PvP game, so there is that, you know, toxicity, there is that shit talking that happens in PvP games. But even with that, it's still the community of the game is going to become this thing that you won't experience in other games. So let me kind of talk about what the game isn't real quick before we get out of here. The game is not a theme park. It is not a dungeon raid. I'm going to do all of these quests, hit max level, reach max gear score, wait for the next expansion. That's not what this game is. The game is a sandbox that the developers give us all of the toys in the sandbox and the players make the game happen. That's the beauty of what Crowfall is it gives you, the player, the ability to make the sandbox fun. And that's why the game is launching when it is. There are people that say, oh, it needs XYZ before launch or else it's dead on arrival. I disagree. I think that the game is in a solid enough state after 6 years of open development that the game needs players to thus continue its development and continue to improve and become a great, even better than it is now. With only having, you know, 200, 300 active players during the beta, the game hasn't been able to have the chance to flesh out these systems that are designed for thousands of players. The game needs to come out to continue to improve. So I think the game is ready to come out. And I think you guys, if you like PvP and you've liked everything that I've said, and you're the type of person that wants to play Crowfall or wants to play this style of game, you should check it out. I really think you would enjoy it. But you have to go into it knowing that it's not like other MMOs. It is not WoW. It is not ESO. It's not Guild Wars. It is a very different MMO in many, many good ways. Over the next year, there's going to be even more updates continuing to make the game great. This is just the beginning of Crowfall. We have years and years and years of content ahead of us, and there are many things to get excited about, along with what's already in the game, which is a really great sandbox PvP MMO. The description, there'll be a link to the current roadmap for the next coming year. So if all of this sounds great to you, right, hopefully I did a good job at explaining what Crowfall is, where it came from, why you should play the game. And I didn't even really scratch the surface of some of these systems that are in the game. Right, the game has extremely deep harvesting and crafting systems that you can literally just do if you want to. It has extremely diverse classes and many different ways to play many different classes, and no one class is better than the other. And it really relies on your skill as a player on how you play that class to make that class good. It's got all of these systems that I didn't even really get into super in depth because I wanted to give you guys kind of the overview of what Crowfall is. And I hope I did a good job at explaining that. If you have questions and I didn't answer something here, come over to my Twitch stream, ask there, or leave a comment down below. I read every single comment, and if it's a valuable question, I'll be sure to answer it. I hope you guys gained something from this video. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. You go over to the YouTube channel. I got so much content on there, already on there and coming out as far as Crowfall, going deep into some of these systems, explaining all of the different ways that you can play Crowfall. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me. My name's Dilbo Dabgins. That's Dilbo with a B. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love.